Hey guys, in this video I wanted to talk about setting your priorities and saying no to things. It's okay to say no, and if you're like me, as an introvert, as someone who, is an INFJ or whatever type you are, it doesn't really matter if you're an INFJ or whatever type. It could be an extrovert as well. I think this happens to everybody at some point, unless you just don't allow this. But I found myself in a position growing up, especially, I was very go with the flow to the extent that people would see me as this kind of easygoing person that would be easily taken advantage of or told what to do. And oftentimes I did reflect that in the way that I acted, because I didn't really stand up to myself very often when I was younger. I also did what other people wanted me to do, and I kind of neglected what I wanted to do and the things that I was passionate about, because even though I do love people, some of my biggest passions are just contemplating certain things and envisioning how I can make a difference. I find myself in contemplation and having all of these big ideas of what I want to do. And even though I do love people, like I said, I would find the things that I was truly passionate about and that truly interests me, I would have to do in secret or silence, and I still have to do that sometimes. I have even a hard time kind of sharing that side of me online, and it's not because I am trying to, but I'm just so used to appeasing other people that it can be hard to show what you're truly interested in and show your true self in many ways. And I think I do show my true self fairly often on this forum, but that's beside the point. I would find myself at the disposal of these people, and people, like I said, would take advantage of me. They didn't care, what I wanted to do. They would go with what they wanted to do or what they thought that I should do, and it led me to feel like I wasn't accomplishing anything that I wanted to do. When I first got into college, I did international business because my parents wanted me to be a business major. I wanted to go to art school. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I didn't go to art school, and because it was very expensive. So I decided to go to the university, Kennesaw State University, and became a business major, was on track to become a business major and complete my business degree, get into the business school at my university, all of that stuff. And it looks really good on paper, and maybe that would have pleased my parents because that's a more useful major. But I didn't care about business. There's aspects that I do care about in business, but for the most part, it wasn't something that I was super interested in. I wanted to pursue something else, and one of my biggest passions in college was Model United Nations, getting involved in that, simulating the UN. And so I decided that instead of pursuing a business degree, I'm going to switch over to international affairs. And that was a huge thing. Even though that doesn't sound like it's that big of a difference, that was a huge thing for me to do, because my mom, both of my parents weren't super pleased with that, but especially my mom. And I used to completely look up to my mother, and I would go with whatever she said. And I know my mom feels like she has my best interests in mind, but it goes back to letting others dictate what they see as your future, what they want you to be. My mom tells me all the time that she sees me marrying a professional guy in the corporate world. She even wanted me to marry one of my friends in the future just because he was successful in school and was like pursuing something. Basically, it would be kind of like a political marriage, and I don't want to do that. That's not something that I'm interested in. And this isn't to bash, my parents or anybody, but I had to decide, yes, I don't like business. Or at least I don't like the business school. It really isn't business. I found myself dreading going to class because the people that were around me, I thought international business was going to be internationally focused, and maybe when you get into the higher ups of the business degree, but a lot of the people were just doing business because they wanted to make money, and I did not. That was never my motive. So I changed to international affairs. I did what I needed to do. I graduated. And like I said, my mom was pretty upset with that, even though I was a lot happier in that major, and I found it a lot more interesting. And I decided to be defiant, even though that isn't that defiant, but for me that was a huge deal. And I think for other people that suffer from this need to please other people, just doing something that seems as simple as changing your major from international business to international affairs can be a huge step. And after that, I felt so much freedom from that. I began to be a little bit more defiant about things. I began to say no to things that I didn't feel like I wanted to do or think I wanted to do. If I didn't want to go to that party, instead of saying, oh yeah, I'll go, and kind of dreading going, I started saying no. If I didn't want to lead whatever project, I said no. I started saying no to things that I didn't want to do, and that gave me more opportunity to say yes to the things I wanted to do. It's the same thing as YouTube. And for those of you that are pursuing YouTube or something creative in that extent, and you don't have to pursue something creative or YouTube, but like for me, just making videos and creating something is something that I've always wanted to do. Maybe not like since I was younger, since YouTube wasn't even around. Obviously, I didn't know about that there was going to be such a thing as YouTube when I was older. But I've always had a creative side to me where I wanted to create things that I truly was passionate about, but also could be impactful for the world. And so when I started this YouTube channel, or at least consistently posting, I got people that didn't understand it. I've gone on dates with guys that found out my YouTube channel and said, oh, I don't know about this. Like, you're a little too this, or you're a little too that. And I don't really care. Like, okay, so you don't like my channel, that's fine. But it's something that I'm truly passionate about. And instead of letting other people dictate that and getting, hateful comments or getting people telling me that, hey, I don't know why you're doing this, stop doing this, you probably shouldn't post as much, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. I'll listen to those people, but it will go in one ear and out the other, because even though my mom, to this day, it's a constant struggle of doing the interviews that I've been doing and putting out content. She doesn't understand it, and I don't blame her. And there's a lot of people that don't just understand it. You know, none of my close friends, at least growing up, really do YouTube. A lot of them are very supportive, but again, my mom really isn't. And, you know, I love my mom, but I have to have this sort of defiance that I didn't have when I was younger. When I was younger, I would have done anything she said. And I think a lot of INFJs, or people that are a little bit more on the empathetic side, and I'm not saying that you have to be, but you're more susceptible to kind of giving in to other people's commands or wishes for you. And when you stop doing that, even though it's difficult, it was one of the most difficult things that I ever had to do, was to be defiant in that way. Even though I've always been very ambitious in my mind, and I've had certain things that I've done under the surface, pursue different things. When I was younger, the things that I was so interested in, so passionate about, and I couldn't talk about it with anybody, and something that I really want to start talking about on this channel is personal development and those concepts. That's what I would focus on the majority of my free time, is personal development. And that's what I was interested in. I read a ton. I listened to a ton of audiobooks. I listened to talks. I read articles, all kinds of things. And a lot of people don't get that because they're not interested in personal development, or they don't understand personal development, or they just don't care. It's as simple as that. And I know since sorry about all the angles, but I know since I've been posting more and putting things out there that I wanted to post, not only helpful for other people or maybe interesting to other people, but when I have this creative outlet, just like whatever that looks like for you, it could be whatever you want. And don't let other people tell you that you can't do it, or that, oh, you know, you wouldn't be so successful at this, maybe you should do that. Or, I want you to be with this person, and I don't see you with this person. Or, oh, don't move there because this is this, and this. Like, for example, I'm going to make a video about Seattle, Washington. And for me, I had experiences that I didn't really prefer. But it was also the time period in my life. I did notice some interesting things about Seattle. And, you know, I personally don't want to live there, but it doesn't mean that other people won't want to live there, even after I make that video. And it's not me trying to convince other people not to live in Seattle, but those are just some things that I noticed when I make that video. But yeah, even things that I say, if I tell you something and it's a limiting belief, whether you think it's positive or negative or just neutral, don't listen to me. You need to go with what you personally need for yourself and want for yourself. Don't listen to other people. And when you start doing that, when you start saying no, and you start setting your priorities to the things that you truly are passionate about, you're going to find a lot more fulfillment in your life, even if your full-time job isn't what you want to do long term. For me, I am working full-time right now, and I don't know if I will do this long term or not, but I know that YouTube is a huge priority to me, and I'm going to make it a priority. I'm not going to make excuses like when I was younger, when I was in college and I had a lot more time than I have now, and say, oh, I wish I had more time, or I wish this situation was whatever. You know, I'm filming in my car, and I'm not trying to point fingers at other people that have trouble posting, because trust me, I know how hard it is to put yourself out there. And if you ever want to talk about that with me, or you know, have any insights about that, let me know, because I think If I could help someone put something out there, and it doesn't have to be YouTube, it could be something else. It could be writing a book. It could be becoming an athlete of some sort, or whatever it is. Set your priorities. Don't just be like, oh, I wish I could do this, or whatever. Narrowing in on your focus, and for me, it's pretty easy for me to narrow in on my focus. Even though I am interested in a lot of things, there are definite things that jump out to me that I have more of an interest in, like YouTube, like doing creative work, certain things like that. And so for me, it was pretty easy to figure out what did I want to do. And even though this is a hobby for me right now, and this is something that I'm working on constantly, and I'm posting more than most people in this community at least, and maybe I don't have 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers, whatever amount of subscribers that people think is, making it on YouTube. I'm very proud of myself not for making this channel and doing that stuff, but for being defiant in the sense that I am doing what I'm doing and I'm not making excuses about it. And I think if anything you learn from this, don't make excuses, set your priorities, and start saying no to things that you don't want to do. And yeah, so I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I'm sorry this video kind of turned into a rant, but I hope it was helpful, and I hope you guys have a spectacular week. And I hope we finish out 2018 with a bang, and a positive bang. Alright, bye guys.